I think in general, insulin pumps can take over the decision making, which can be a good and bad thing. When we can get separated from what we're eating, what we're dosing, and the insulin that is being transferred into our system, which is a good thing because we definitely want our blood sugar to be in control. Obviously, because it's a great aid in that. It's a great tool for that. But I think it's very important, and I think if this is the number one takeaway that I can provide for you today, is to be more engaged with exactly what your pump is delivering for insulin every day. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Type 1 in Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Slemp. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 14 years old and now founder and CEO of Abundant Health with Melissa. And as a certified health coach, I know the unique challenges of managing diabetes in midlife and beyond. So I've created a coaching model that has empowered hundreds of women to thrive despite their diagnosis. And each week, I'll bring you conversations and strategies with guest experts, along with insights from my own 40 plus years of living with type 1 diabetes. I'll also share how my faith empowers me both emotionally and helps me to navigate the daily challenges. So if you're a woman ready to redefine your diabetes journey, this podcast is for you. So before we dive in, remember this podcast isn't a substitute for personalized medical advice. Always consult with your physician or medical professional before making any changes to your diet, insulin dosages, or healthcare plan. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode. Today I want to talk about, that magic word that we all know too well, insulin, and along with other hormones. So again, as a health coach and a woman living with type 1 diabetes, these are things that I have on my mind as well. And it's a common topic that comes up in client sessions and even just simple consultations that I have with many women. So again, just a simple reminder, if you want to reach out and book a free consult with me, you can do that. Just visit my website, abundanthealthofmelissa.com, and you will see Get Started right there at the top of the menu. And just click there and schedule a time with me. I would love to have a chance to talk further. And this topic today may inspire you to do that. I want to talk about the hormone insulin. And, I think this is becoming more and more prevalent as we get older. I think when we're younger, and we are managing type 1 diabetes, maybe this topic doesn't resonate as much. Maybe it does. Again, this is a very individual thing to consider. But I want to talk about all the different hormones, but specifically insulin and its impact on our waistline and how much insulin may be pumping through our bodies every day. Because, insulin resistance, even insulin resistance can be part of this conversation. And there's many ways to kind of mitigate how our body's efficiently using insulin, because that is the goal, isn't it? It's whatever we are injecting and using for food, and to use insulin, in a very efficient way, because that's always the goal. It's always the goal. And to minimize how much insulin we need. And this is not to beat up how many carbs we're eating or how much food we're eating. No, this is not the point of today's show. Is really to get a high picture view of exactly what's going on so that you can better understand what might be preventing you from transitioning through perimenopause without all those bumps in the road, and to have a better understanding of a healthy weight. And I know those are common frustrations that we can all feel. And again, this is not a judgment. This is not a place for us to be trying to reach unrealistic body size or weight or anything like that. It's really about feeling our best and feeling confident with our choices every day. And that is really what I'm hoping to do here and try to support you on. So let's talk about insulin resistance. This is a common hormonal imbalance that often leads to weight gain. And it really is the reduced responsiveness of the insulin that is telling our body to produce more insulin, or in our case, inject more insulin to control the blood sugar levels. But what happens to this is that it can cause increased fat storage, particularly in the abdomen, the midsection. And what happens when we hit perimenopause through post-menopause, and this is something I remember hearing as a young girl as well. You hit menopause, you're going to gain weight. And the women that I was around in those days, that was just the common belief that once you hit that time of life, and these were women that did not live with diabetes, but they were becoming more insulin resistant, not knowing that all this was tied together. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think it's really about understanding the body and things that we can do to help prevent this. And again, if this is your goal, if this is something that, like myself, I always wanted to be as functioning as I could be. I wanted to be more in tune with, what I was eating, how I was feeling, and my insulin dosages and all of that, the best I could be. Not perfection, just to try to be in tune with that. So I'm hoping that this topic today can help you with that as well. And I want to start with a client story. And of course, I don't mention client names just to protect their privacy. But she came to me, this was about a year and a half ago, and she was in post-menopause. And her biggest struggle was, and she'd been living with diabetes for, I think she was a little over 30 years, maybe 40 years at that point. Yeah, she was between 30 to 40 years living with type 1, and she wanted to lose weight. And she had some stubborn weight. She never had to worry about her weight in earlier years. She had gone through a few pregnancies, lost the weight. Again, she transitioned into her late 40s, early 50s, no extra weight issues. So she came to me with this frustration. It's like, okay, so what is going on? So this is a really good example of doing all the things, but it wasn't giving her what she, thought she would get at the end, which was, a healthy weight, being able to fit into the same clothes and all of that. So we looked at her. She was on an insulin pump as well. So, and I think, and this is not to beat up many of you who are on insulin pumps, but I think in general, insulin pumps can take over the decision making, which can be a good and bad thing. When we can get separated from what we're eating, what we're dosing, and the insulin that is being transferred into our system, which is a good thing because we definitely want our blood sugar to be in control. Obviously, because it's a great aid in that. It's a great tool for that. But I think it's very important, and I think if this is the number one takeaway that I can provide for you today, is to be more engaged with exactly what your pump is delivering for insulin every day. And just to, I'll step back and talk about myself right here. I'm MDI, so multiple daily injections, and you may have heard my story here before if you've been listening to the show. I've always been on daily injections for 42 years now with type 1. And I obviously, when you are doing your own injections, and I use the InPen, which is a smart insulin pen, which does track my insulin. So it does, I'm able to put in my carb count based on, well, first of all, I put in what my current glucose number is. From my Dexcom. So I put that data in there. And of course, these apps are all synced together. So it's a timing difference as far as how quickly my current glucose is uploaded to my InPen. But anyway, the data is there. So it's a cool, real easy thing to just tell the app what my current glucose is, tell the app how many carbs I'm going to eat, and that gives me a suggested insulin dose. So I'm seeing that all day. I'm seeing what's on board. I'm seeing my total insulin dose per meal and for the whole day. And it also tracks my basal rate. So, and that is a 1 time a day shot that I give myself. That's my morning dose. So I see how many units are going into my body every day. And in some case, I'm controlling that. Obviously the InPen is giving me that suggested dose, which I do usually do, but I can also factor in the fact that I just went for a walk or I'm about to do a workout. So I'll know whether or not to take more or less insulin with those factors kind of worked into the situation. So when I when I think back to this client, and we looked at her total insulin and again, this is not judgment. This is just observation. This is just looking at what she was doing, what she was eating, the exercise mode that she would put it in when she would go for a walk or do a workout. And I'll tell you more about her workout schedule, how that changed and how that did help her reach her goals. But for her to look at her total insulin delivery, her averages were, we were both looking at this. It's like, wow, that seems like it's gotten higher over, let's say, the last year, So just based again on what she was eating, her activity. And another thing that I'm going to talk more about is stress levels and the fact that her body, her insulin pump was delivering more insulin based on other factors that were pointing the need further. So, or her need more. In other words, her body was needing more insulin based on all these factors, as we know, as how it all adds up as the days were going on. So in theory, this was adding the extra weight for my client. So this is what was causing her to gain the weight. So this was an amazing thing for her to figure out. She's like, oh my gosh, okay, this is making sense. Now I understand why this is happening. So that is amazing. It's empowering. Again, she was still not happy with the extra weight and the fact that she wasn't feeling as well. And her energy was low and she was feeling more stressed. Her work environment and the time, her commute to and from work, all of these things were adding up. So it gave her an idea or gave her the opportunity to really look closer at her overall lifestyle and some things that she could make some changes on and some things that she can add in and, just to crowd out some of the things that we're adding to this. So that opened up my eyes too. This is something I was always aware of, that insulin in general is a fat storing hormone. And the fact that stress and cortisol is going to push that need for insulin up even more. That's no surprise to us, those of us living with diabetes, or if we see how our blood sugar can rise right immediately around that present moment of stress that is occurring. And sometimes, stress can be chronic as well. So this can happen and it can slowly creep up on us over the years or over the weeks, over the years as time goes on. And we don't necessarily see it on a day-to-day basis, but maybe month to month and definitely year to year, we can see how these numbers and this insulin can creep up. And then, okay, so that was that end of the puzzle. So the other end of the puzzle, or the part of the story for this client, was the fact that she was also in menopause. And she was not on hormone replacement therapy. And she had personal reasons. And she did have this conversation with her doctor. And to this day, she has chosen not to go on hormone replacement. And that is definitely a choice that I respect. And that's a conversation, again, that she went back and forth with her own doctor on. And that's important. And she decided that was not going to be a choice for her. So she understood that was definitely part of the reason why her insulin was not as sensitive as it could be based on her low estrogen levels. That is a known scientific medical fact that that is what happens when we are transitioning in this stage of life. And she had to take all that in. This was all part of the equation for her. So, what happened was we were able to work on her specific lifestyle choices. So, she was looking closer at her plate. And again, not beating up what was on the plate. She was not criticizing or condemning the carbohydrates that she was eating. But we really started to add in more vegetables, more non starchy carbs, more fiber, more protein. You're seeing all the things we're adding in, and that crowded out her desire for the breads and the pastas and those type of foods that were really they were pushing her insulin needs higher. So with that, we also added in some strength training. So she did a great job at slowly adding that in. She got a routine that she was able to slowly again increase her weight, focusing on form and those techniques more closely, just so that she wasn't hurting herself or adding any insult to or causing injury. So that's real important too. So, and this is something that I work with my clients on as well. I can set up a routine for you, and I work in person with people, with women, and I also virtually. So there's lots of ways to get this support and help from me. So she walked away with a better understanding, again, an overview, a better, brighter picture of really what was going on with her body. And she lost the weight. She, again, I think the number one thing is just to feel empowered, that she finally understood why, and that she finally knew that there were some things that she could do, again, to kind of fine tune her lifestyle, to add in some higher fiber foods, more protein, and that resistance training to build that endocrine strong and insulin sensitivity builder. I know I'm kind of killing the words here, which is what muscle is. So big advocate of that. And not to mention the fact that she wasn't on hormone replacement. So she really needed to be really aware of building stronger bones, which is what that resistant and that weight bearing exercise can do as well. So all these really important things to do as we age with diabetes, ladies. So real important. I wanted to just overview as well some other things. And, these are all good things to talk with your doctor about. I think it's important that when we go to our doctor that we are equipped and we know the information that we are searching for and the questions to ask. And please, and always feel free to reach out to me if you have questions on any of these topics that we cover here on the show. And I wanted to look at some other main hormones, 6 main hormones that affect our body's ability to manage our weight. So we've talked about insulin. That's definitely the blood sugar manager that's helping us to keep our levels and our A1C in a range that we're happy with. And but about understanding how it can lead to stored calories. So if we're not utilizing blood sugar in other ways, like with exercise and stress reduction practices, then we can it's asking our body to give us more insulin or to inject more insulin or the need for more insulin. So again, it's just about awareness with this, because extra calories is going to be extra insulin. Extra insulin is going to be a potential for weight gain. So the other thing that I was mentioning, this is number 2 on our 6 main hormones that affect our body weight, is cortisol, like I was mentioning too. So dealing with stress, and again, just being aware and bringing in some gentle breathing, some prayer, just some time alone, and really protecting your bedtime routine, because we we can better control our daytime stress levels or minimize it when we are sleeping well. Our body needs to repair and recover as we're sleeping overnight. And it also helps with our insulin sensitivity. So a stressed body is going to be less apt to use insulin efficiently. And that's something else you can reach out to if you want more information about your bedtime routine and controlling cortisol levels. Please let me know. And then we were talking about perimenopause. That's a hot topic on this show, type 1 in midlife, and estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Those are three working hormones that naturally drop as we age, and they all help us with our insulin requirements, basically, our ability to use insulin efficiently. And again, low levels, especially of estrogen, may lead to weight gain and point us into more of a resistant stage with our insulin. And progesterone is it's great for sleep too, because that's just a natural relaxer at night. And if you happen to be on hormone replacement, that is definitely something you would supplement at night. Wonderful, wonderful way to just kind of reduce the stress and induce really good sleep. And low levels can make weight management and sleep more challenging. So again, sleep is so important, and progesterone is a big helper with that. Testosterone. That is the next hormone. That is vital. It's so important for muscle strength, bone health, and our libido. So keeping our sex drive happy and healthy and keeping our relationships strong. It's real important. Again, get those levels tested, ladies. And I'm going to encourage that here in just a moment too. But lower levels of testosterone, it's real hard to maintain and to build muscle with low levels of testosterone. And when we're low in testosterone, we tend to gain fat as well, or I should say we retain fat. So it's increased fat retention. And finally, thyroid hormones. And this is definitely something you can speak with your endocrinologist about. They specialize in the thyroid hormone and the thyroid gland. So definitely get a full thyroid panel if weight gain is something that is starting to creep up and it doesn't make sense, along with all these other factors that I talked about. But low levels will lead to weight gain and fatigue and some other very common symptoms. So definitely check that out with your physician. So now that we understand how and why insulin resistance can occur, especially for those of us working as our own pancreas, what's the next step? So as a health coach and somebody like myself that's also living with type 1, I emphasize the importance of self-awareness and just paying really close attention to how you're feeling and how these steps, maybe there's some steps that I mentioned are not quite being fulfilled, and some things that you can get some further support on. And that's what I do as a coach. And like I was mentioning with those 6 main hormones, those can all be tested, and really push your doctor, ask your doctor, say, hey, I really want to know my baselines. I want to know where I'm at, because I can't make the best decisions. I can't understand it. It's causing frustration or anxiety. The not knowing can just be more stressful. So get those levels tested. And again, reach out if you need any more support on how to specifically request this from your doctors. And it's important to focus on those healthy habits. And then other thing I work on with my clients is those things that we just need to stay consistent with, like staying hydrated, creating a good, consistent sleep habits, your bedtime routine, regular exercise, balanced play, eating well, reducing the stress, and letting faith and your beliefs and that hope-filled mindset really guide your journey. And I really hope this show is helping you to do that as well. And when these habits become firmly kind of set in place and sustainable, it will become easier to not only reach your blood sugar goals and to improve your insulin sensitivity, you will reach a healthy weight. We always say, those of us that work as holistic coaches, is that if you chase the health, and those are the things that we talk about, all these things with our levels and hormones and insulin and all of that, your weight will follow. And that is just a natural progression of when we feel good, our body is in balance, the best it can be. There is no perfect balance. It's just trying to find out what needs to kind of tip this way or that way in order to kind of find our happy place. We will naturally gain or reach a healthy weight. I promise that. And, I went through this myself, in my late 40s. I just realized everything was just starting to kind of fall apart. It was getting a little bit wild with my own energy and my focus, and my blood sugars were not staying steady like they had usually had been. Again, I always had my ups and downs, but they were just going haywire. And it was baffling and frustrating. And I gained weight, and I was just feeling not myself. And I was looking, and obviously I got my levels checked. I used my own advice, I turned and looked at myself in the mirror and said, okay, what do I need to do? And I was like, oh yeah, I should probably follow my own advice and get my levels checked. So I did that. And my estrogen levels, as were expected, were dropping. And that was really, really pointing to all the issues I was having. So again, it's so empowering when we can find out why, get the help we need, and to get the support, and to find out if, obviously these lifestyle changes that I can help and support you with, and if hormone replacement therapy is going to be your next step. And please reach out if you have any questions about that as well. As I wrap up today, I really want to thank you for being here. I hope this topic just kind of shed a light on just insulin and how impactful it can be on our just our whole overall health and how we're feeling, especially as we're aging and especially as we're hitting menopause. And if those levels, again, look at them, check out those reports and seeing, are your daily levels of insulin or, your total insulin levels, dosing levels, am I saying that right, is starting to increase. And if maybe that is part of it, and chances are it is part of maybe some extra stubborn weight that is just got you miffed and a little frustrated. So, and yeah, reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Blood Sugar Boss. This is a great conversation that we have over there. And you can also reach us in the Type 1 and Midlife community on the free Honey Health Diabetes app. For support and discussions on this topic and all topics that we talk about here on the show. And you can see the link right here in the show notes to download that free app. And again, if you need more information or want to discuss further, book a free consult with me just visit on my website, abundanthealthwithmelissa.com. Just click the Get Started right there at the top of the menu. You will see it there, and you can schedule a time. And again, I work both in person and virtually with women. So I hope to hear from you. And please share this episode with other women who may benefit, who we know will benefit from this support. And be sure to rate and follow the show so that you don't miss an episode. We drop an episode every Monday, and we're so thankful to have you here. Hope this gave you some good tips and some things to consider. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back in here same time next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. We are so grateful for the time that we spent together today. And if this conversation resonated with you, or you just love connecting with others living with T1D, please take a moment to leave a rating and review. Your feedback helps us reach more people who need this community and resources. And if you realize you need more support than you're currently getting, remember, you don't have to struggle alone. Visit me at abundanthealthwithmelissa.com for free resources on mastering type 1 diabetes in menopause, and to stay connected and learn about my coaching programs. We look forward to being together next Monday. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single episode. Remember that Together, we can age gracefully with type 1 diabetes.